Welcome to the Dream Achievers podcast, where we focus on business owners and purpose-driven leaders in our local communities. We meet people every day where we shop, eat, and do life, and want to bring their stories to you each and every Wednesday. Now, let's get to this week's guest.
Hey, welcome back to another episode of Dream Achievers. This is Andy, the Mountain Money Man, and I'm joined today by Wendy Gilbert with Wicks by Wendy. Wendy, thanks so much for joining us today. How are you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm luckily warm right now because as we're recording this, I think it's about 19 degrees outside.
Yes,
so grateful for a heat pump and power with that. But Wendy, we were talking a little bit off camera beforehand that we're here today because a few years ago, you decided for some reason you like candles.
Very much so.
If anybody's been to the store and you've bought candles, there's any number of options. What was it that stuck out 5 years ago that you said, you know what, I want to jump into that?
I was spending a lot of money on somebody else's product that I absolutely loved. So I did a lot of research and finally took the leap.
So took the leap with that, and when you try to get into candle making, obviously, I know people keep the glass jars and things like that at home, but how do you just wake up one day and decide, like, okay, I'm going to go down this rabbit hole? What do I look at? Well,
I researched for a very long time on vessels and different wicks and different waxes, and at first I was overwhelmed, and still I get overwhelmed sometimes, but I'm a note taker, so I just kind of narrowed it down to a few little things, and then I ordered a little startup kit and just took off.
With it. Now, if someone thinks of a normal candle, and I've got one second, a normal candle that I think of just a traditional, bear with me as this refocuses, but as we go through just a normal candle that's kind of like this, I go in and I go to Walmart or Target or somewhere, and I'm like, okay, that's pretty cool. It smells pretty. But you go a step further, and I'm going to show some of the pictures here of these creations. Yours doesn't just look like a normal candle. How in the world do you go through and create those type of designs?
Again, a lot of research. I found another creator that I followed on social media, and she kind of inspired me. So after just playing around with it, at first I just did plain candles, but then I started experimenting with a little fancier type, just to catch somebody's eye, because normally just a regular candle, a lot of people just walk past it. So I wanted to do a little something extra to jazz it up a little.
Well, I think you definitely can say that happened. I saw one that was just posted. It's people are getting ready for Valentine's Day.
Yes.
And a lot of these Valentine's creations, it's over the top. Or if it's looking like a milkshake or looking like, so it's these different creations that it's a piece of art on the shelf as it is, much less the fact that you're getting these different scents out of it.
Yeah.
And if we think about that, I've watched movies and stuff where somebody's trying to come up with different scents for perfume, but how do you come up with the scents for candles? Is it just that you're sitting there like a mad scientist with all these different essential oils, or how do you go about this?
Depends on really the season. Like Valentine's Day, of course, it's the love's in the air, so you kind of do just the more lovey-dovey smells, and I try to get what is really popular in that season, because every season is so different. I just kind of go with the season, and I have a lot of people that message me and ask for particular scents, so I kind of work with that too.
Okay. So somebody says, you know what I really like? I like the smell of cashmere.
Mm-hmm. So I Google cashmere, get their ratings, and find a business and I have several that I've worked with along the 3 years, and I just find a reputable company that I've got good fragrances off of, and I tend to stick with those.
Okay. So that way I kind of know what I'm getting. It's going to be a good quality.
Yes.
It's going to mix well with what I'm doing.
Absolutely.
Do you do a certain type of wax that you've learned over the 3 years that, hey, this works better than others, or people respond better to this than others?
A lot of, I started out with soy because during my research, a typical store-bought candle has a lot of harmful ingredients to your breathing and asthma and allergies, and I never imagined, like, before when I was buying candles, that didn't even enter my mind, you know. But I've learned a lot with the health of burning a candle. So I originally went with soy wax because it's all natural. And then I've switched to it's an all natural. It's a type of soy.
Okay.
Yeah, just because of cleaner burning, you know.
Yeah, to your point when you said that, hey, I kind of researched it and went through and realized that, you know, not all of this is equal.
Yes.
The cheap $4 candles are cheap for a reason.
Exactly.
And then you realize that, hey, I'm trying to light this because the house has an odor or something to it, but you don't realize what you're actually doing to yourself of creating other respiratory problems and things that are going on.
Yes.
My wife is asthmatic, so there were many years that she said no candles.
Right.
Forget it. And we did the candle warmers for a little while. That she was like, okay, I can do that, but I can't burn them.
Yeah.
But you know, we've played with it and kind of found different things that she can tolerate, that she can enjoy, and a lot of it I think is due to that quality of what you're buying, and what you're going through. Now, when somebody, obviously you're seeing the pictures and things of these candles that as we've went through, but if somebody hasn't been able to experience seeing your stuff, where are some of the different places that they can see it, maybe here locally or go purchase one?
I'm set up in 2 shops in Tazewell, Hannah's Boutique, and also the Clothing Palette in Tazewell. And I'm also set up in Abingdon at the Boho Collectives and Bristol at the Merchant on Main.
Okay. So in addition to that, I know that you've been set up at a lot of festivals.
Yes.
And we were sharing earlier, my wife sets up at a lot of the festivals with her business, with J.G. Blessed and Faith Creations. And, you know, as we go, and it's amazing to see this community of people, of creators and people that are doing stuff. But what's been your favorite event that you've been to recently, you know, in the last couple of years?
The Iris Festival in Blountville it's probably been the biggest festival that I did. There's bukus of people come through there, and you just meet so many interesting and unique, you know. And with candles, I've learned so many. I mean, nobody is alike on their, you know. I have some people come and say, oh, I hate the smell of this, but I love this, and somebody right behind them is the exact opposite. So, and I've done a lot of local festivals here where I live, so, and those are always fun.
Yeah, I mean, it's always unique. It offers something to be able to get out and in front of people, and I'm always amazed at the people that come through and they're like, oh, this is so nice. You know, I wish I knew that something like this existed before.
Yeah.
And you're like, I wish you knew too.
Yeah. Yeah. That's when I set up in my hometown. A lot of people come through and they're like, I didn't even know you did this. Yeah. So that's always fun.
Well, it's interesting whenever you can experience those things and go to the festivals and do that. You know, on one side is the person that's visiting and doing it. Totally different on the side of somebody that's setting up as a vendor.
Oh yeah.
You really appreciate when somebody runs an event well. You show up, you know, hey, here's where I'm supposed to go. Yes. Here's how I go in and out. There's restrooms. Those are never fun to go to those events where there's not restrooms. I showed up at an event before in Tazewell where it was like, there's no restrooms. Like, this is an all-day event. Where are people supposed to go? Nothing. No porta potties. Oh, wow. Hopefully they've got that taken care of by now. But you know, you see stuff like that, and you really kind of take for granted. Okay, there's so much work that goes into putting these on, and then the people that are showing up as vendors, like yourself. I mean, how many hours does it take to go from concept to in a jar ready to sell with a candle?
It's time consuming. And that's what a lot of people don't realize, the background, the back work that goes into it. Because, if you're doing an apple festival, you want to get all apple scented, decorative things. I know one night I went to bed at 5 a.m. and got up at 7 and loaded and took off. Because sometimes I'm a procrastinator and that doesn't help me. But it's a lot of man hours put into it, but I enjoy it a lot.
Hey, sorry for the interruption, but I know that you're probably watching this and you're worried about when can you actually afford to retire. Well, good news. We can help you out with that. Find out what it's going to look like for you if you keep walking down your own financial path. Do you have enough money? Are you saving in the right places? Are there anything that you need to watch out for that maybe you're not planning for, like if you get sick or hurt and you can't work? Or what happens if you need long-term health care in retirement? All those things we address in our financial pathway plan. So, if you haven't already, be sure to click the link down below so that we can schedule a time to have a conversation. No cost, no obligation to be able to do anything, simply my way of being able to reach out to you and help with the things that you're worried about because you're a valued listener. Thanks.
I don't like paperwork as much as I thought I did like paperwork because I'm not very good at keeping my own receipts, for that tax purposes.
Yeah.
So, and I work with the public, that's always a plus because a lot of people know me in the community from where I work at. So
yeah, it's amazing when you can see kind of how those things cross for people that you may not realize that, candle making, how do I apply this to my normal healthcare job?
Yeah.
That you go, well, there's a lot of lessons. Patience.
Yeah. Oh yeah, absolutely.
Preparing ahead of time because I know with a lot of the scents and with the wax, it has to cure before somebody's burning it.
Yes.
Which you may not realize the fact of how far ahead things have to be done.
When I first started, that was one of the things I didn't realize. Original soy, you had to cure it for a minimum of 2 weeks. Well, I didn't have that kind of time, so that was a worrisome on my behalf, and that's why I started researching and finding a different wax that still had the same benefits and the same good things about it with less cure time. Mm-hmm. So I could be more productive and, get candles ready on time.
So what's been the biggest challenge for you to this point? Now 3 years in, I know you had mentioned that you went into it with a 5-year focus of what you wanted to do, but 3 years in, what's been the biggest challenge that you've had to overcome with the candle business?
Time. I want to devote more time to candles, but my 9 to 5 is, that's my bread and butter right now.
And for some reason, bills still want paid.
Yes, yes, unfortunately.
You still, like everybody else I talk to with my day job, want to retire at some point in time.
Yes, very much so. I was just telling a friend today, 15-hour days, when you're first getting started, it's, you're full of energy and the want and just you're all fired up. But 3 years in, those 15-hour days are wearing down,
It wears thin quick.
Takes a toll on you, yeah.
Now, would you say in that period of time, what's been the biggest opportunity that you've had that you didn't think would exist, as far as maybe an event that you went to, or being able to set up at a certain boutique or business that you were like, this just fell in my lap, I don't know how?
All the boutiques and the stores, when I first got started, I thought it was pretty much going to be festivals and maybe some fundraisers. And I guess at the 5-year mark, I thought ultimately I'd like to be in a store. I didn't think it would happen so quickly. Mm-hmm. I had everybody that I've set up in, they've reached out to me, with the exception of one. But it's just like oh my gosh, I'm doing this, that really makes me feel good. And to walk in the community and be like, oh my gosh, you're the lady that makes candles, so that's pretty awesome. I really enjoy that.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
So has there been any relationship that's been important as far as kind of helping you to mentor on the business side, or to help you kind of figure out the candle business itself?
I have to give a lot of credit to my husband. I know I give him a really hard time sometimes, but I couldn't do it without him. He's constantly, we've kind of converted our downstairs into my candle shop. And he has hung pegboards and, moved everything around and put shelves in there for me and rewired stuff so I could have my burners in there. And he spends a lot of those 15-hour days with me. He's down there wicking candle jars and putting stickers on. And I call him my IT guy because he's always making labels for me. I have the vision, but he helps me bring it to life, with the printing all the labels for me. So I couldn't do it without him. He's been a blessing.
Well, that's an important thing when you got somebody else that's behind you that
Yes.
believes in it almost as much as you. I would say just as much, but
Yes.
I know you're leading the charge with that he's right behind you, carrying the
Sometimes
flag.
I get discouraged, but he's always, giving me that pep talk. So
Yeah. What would you, if you went back 3 years ago as you were starting this, what do you wish you would have told yourself then that you know now?
I wish I would have had I wish when I had originally started thinking about if I could do it, started setting money aside for that dream. But instead, I just, ordered a little here, ordered a little there, and until I got enough product to actually do it,
Mm-hmm.
I wish I would have been more financially ready for it, to take that leap. Because originally, when you first get started, that's out of our funds, you know. So that's been a little difficult sometimes, but 3 years we're still doing it. So
Well, when you have any business, when you go from, okay, I'm going to start this, the first thing is that you got the business paying for itself. Mm-hmm. And then eventually you get it to where the business is paying for itself and it's paying you.
Yes.
And that's the ideal place to be.
Yes.
And for anybody that has a day job and then you go start as everyone wants to say, a side hustle, but really you're starting a side project, something that you're putting time that you could be watching Netflix, and instead now you're going through and saying, you know what, rest, forget it. Let's just go ahead and go start a business.
Yeah.
That you don't see all those hours behind the scenes. You see the finished product.
Yeah.
And you don't realize how much really goes into that and what the sacrifice is to get there. What would you say, for anybody that's looking to start any type of business with that? What would you say would be the most important thing for them? Just giving themselves that runway?
The runway definitely helps, and support. Make sure you have that support, because without that support, I get discouraged, and if you don't have somebody to support you, then it would be very difficult.
Wow.
And don't give up,
But when I've always been told, as far as with business, it's when you give up, but right around the corner is when something would have broke through. Yeah. So, those days that get hard, those days that you're up against the wall and you're like, you know what, I don't even know if it's worth it. That's when it breaks through. That's when you're just one step away from that next relationship or that next meeting that just, now all of a sudden it opens it up.
Yeah.
Well, Wendy, if somebody wants to, I know we talked about some of the places that they can go find your product to be able to enjoy, but if somebody wants to find out more about your business, where can they find out more about Wicks by Wendy?
I have a Facebook business page. It is Wicks by Wendy. And I also have a website. It is currently under construction, so I'm working on that. And it's www.wicksbywendy.
Very cool. So you'll be able to order product, have
Absolutely.
it shipped, and
Yes.
show up at your door. So you can get some of these awesome creations to be able to be there for you
Yes.
as you go. Well, Wendy, I greatly appreciate your time being able to share your story about this. You know, we're here in our small town of Lebanon, Virginia, where it's beautiful outside, and there's so much to be able to experience, and there's so many people that are creative in this. I love being able to share the stories of here locally. And until next time, this is Andy saying I'll catch you down the road.